So I'm very interested in brand growth. I'm very interested in brand awareness and brand equity. I'm very interested in share of voice, because if we just play at the bottom of the funnel with generic keywords where everybody's playing, the brand will always be very fragile. I think we need to establish a more solid strategy on brand awareness and emotional messaging. Beginning is many years ago, before marketing was digital.
Okay.
I started marketing when it wasn't digital, and then I think in 2004 I started playing with AdWords, and I think Genie Goals was then founded in 2013, so many years later. And Genie Goals is an agency that does only e-commerce and only performance marketing for e-commerce. The space is so complex and so big that we thought we can't really do anything else. We parked the travel system, we parked the finance, everything that is not e-commerce is just not really something that we look at because of the complexity of e-commerce. That's how we got into e-commerce marketing, and marketing is just the one thing that I started doing, and it's addictive. You started so much to learn, and yes, so that's my base. I do other bits. I wrote a book and so on, but performance marketing, driving retailers' revenue and profits up is what we do. I don't do frustration very well, so I tend to focus on the stuff that makes me excited. Challenges for e-commerce managers and e-commerce businesses are really to do with measurement and attribution, with channels like Google and Instagram and Facebook, which for e-commerce businesses are vital, but these two channels don't really talk to each other at all. So it becomes increasingly harder to measure and to attribute, but it's also increasingly important to do so. So the education piece in trying to move away from the last click on AdWords and trying to understand the real value of top of the funnel channels without the fluff, without the vanity metrics, the likes, because they don't mean anything. What means is, however we move a user closer to the purchase, and after the purchase, how we keep the client, how we keep the user, how we keep the customer loyal to us.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested in brand growth. I'm very interested in brand awareness and brand equity. I'm very interested in share of voice, because if we just play at the bottom of the funnel with generic keywords where everybody's playing, the brand will always be very fragile. I think we need to establish a more solid strategy on brand awareness and emotional messaging. 3 good ideas, 3 things to do.
Yeah.
So if you don't have one already, hire or form, change the role or whatever you want to call it, but you need to create the position of the brand guardian in your organization. The brand guardian, and there's an article I can send you if you want to distribute it, 2,000-word article detailing what that means. But the brand guardian, in essence, is the person within the brand that understands the brand inside out and understands the why, the mission, understands the intricacies, understands the margins, understands the fulfillment issues, understands what we need to get rid of because it's in stock and is due to change. So it's the person that understands the brand very well, but also manages either your in-house team that does digital marketing or the agencies that do digital marketing. Because the one challenge that I see many e-commerce brands getting into, not knowing that they are into that challenge, is that they have 2, 3, 4, 5 agencies, SEO, PPC, social, and CRO, and they don't freaking talk to each other.
And
right?
they're disconnected, yeah.
They're 100% disconnected. And it doesn't matter how the agencies will tell you, we talk to the other agencies, they don't fucking do that. Unless the brand guardian puts them into a process where the communication is shared, and the mission is to stop referring to us as a brand and however many agencies, but us as a team. So that's number 1. Number 2 is culture, and this is probably something beyond the e-commerce. You're going to have to build a culture within your organization that trickles down, the DNA spreads to your other employees where you're all aiming at the same thing. So if you got an e-commerce team with digital marketing executives and managers, and you've got 10-15 people in that team, you're going to have to work some sort of OKRs or goals where everybody is working towards the same stuff, because otherwise it will be harder. You have the commerce manager that wants certain things to report to the board, then the digital marketing manager looks at different things, and it's very disruptive. And the last thing is to really test, keep testing. Ask yourself, what can we do that nobody else is doing? 70, 80, 60% do the stuff that brings on the money, the stuff that you know, and then play with the other 20, 30, 40%, because when you find stuff that works, by doing that, you're ahead. Because you're testing, your competitors are not doing it. It also keeps it very exciting, which is much better. So never really be afraid to test. Don't become complacent, because the industry moves very quickly. Small guys are coming up and they're eating up a market share from brands that are established, and maybe they've got better products just because they're creative. So be creative. So we do two things. The first one, we were born as a performance agency, truly performance. I mean, we offer also a performance model. If we don't make profits, not just revenue, but profit for our customers, we don't make money either. So it's very important that we move away from, we are an agency. We're not really a marketing agency, we are a business agency. What that means is that we're not there to solve marketing problems, we're there to solve business problems, right? It's 100% important, it's 100% the core of what we do. We talk to customers about their fulfillment issues, we talk about their margins. We don't bid on just cost of sale, we bid on margins if the customer gives us the margin. We understand what problem you may have, and that perhaps is to do with hiring, to do with training, to do with fulfillment, to do with PMPs, and we may not be able to solve it, but we put you in a room with somebody that has, because we have a network of many retail brands that can help you. We don't do CRO, for example, we do PPC, shopping, massively big in shopping, paid social, so Instagram, Facebook and all that stuff, and affiliates. Many customers tell us we have an issue with CRO, we need a CRO agency. We don't say we don't do it. We put them in touch with somebody that we know is good, and we work with them to fix it. So it's about fixing the customer problem. That's what we do. We don't drive market. We don't drive traffic. We drive profits, sales, revenue, growth, users, whatever the customer needs, leads. Yeah, I think moving the focus to retention is wrong, because you still need to acquire. It's dedicating some focus to it, right? And keeping whatever you're doing on acquisition. Retaining a customer is very important. Customers have got more choice. They don't have to be with you. They can go somewhere else. So you have to keep them. There are many ways that you can retain customers. One of them is to care with the after sale, is to care during the sale process, make it very easy for them to buy, make it very easy for them to return stuff. If you've got a return policy, you're gonna get a return anyway, so just make it very easy for them to do what they want to do. So that's probably number one. Number two is talk to the customers after. Keep a conversation that is really tailored to what they want. Now we are able to get many bits of information about our customers and really personalize that communication with almost each individual customer, and you can do that now with technology. So really care, be tailored in the communication. I still see, and this is crazy, it's 2019, I still see you buy a washing machine and then the same retail brand retargets you with a freaking washing machine. I just bought one, just because they're a marketing list, I don't update it. So stuff like that really hurts the brand. And the other thing is top of the funnel stuff. People think that they buy Mercedes over BMW because it's a better car. That's bullshit. They are the same car. It's just as good, right? People buy Mercedes over BMW if that's what they do, because the marketing communication, the message resonates with them more. That's so important after the sale, because you want to keep the customer, whatever you're selling, proud that they are wearing or using your products, and you do that by also being there with an inspirational message. Nike does that very well. Some brands do it very well, many don't. So that's probably my tip. And then get smart. There's a company called Retain.me, and they basically swap your delivery note, which is boring as fuck, and they put instead a card personalized based on your history, which has got personalized shopping suggestions or other messages, and at the back it still has your delivery information. So things like that make a big difference. Machine learning is already a thing, obviously. We use machine learning. We've been using it for a long time. Artificial intelligence as a bigger area is probably very, very interesting. I think we're not really there yet. I think there's a few obstacles. The first one is testing. There's lack of history. Machine learning is data to learn, and AI needs more data to learn. And I think we don't have that yet, but I think we're getting closer. Obviously, with AI, the curve is exponential. So you may have this progression, and then you do that because it's the nature of machine learning, right? Yeah. And AI. But at this stage, I think it's premature. At this stage, it's just a buzzword, really. Machine learning is good. We need to use technology to do it. But I think it's old news. If you don't use machine learning where you can, then you're obsolete. You shouldn't really work in marketing. In terms of AI, I think it's still a little bit early. There's stuff like augmented reality, which is very cool, and people are playing with that very well. And this is very cool. You can do that as a brand, and that makes you a cool brand. I'm not quite sure if it will have a massive, measurable impact on sales, but it makes you cool, which eventually will pay off. So augmented reality is a good thing. Some people are playing with virtual reality as well, but I think AI is still a little bit early. Keep an eye on it, but I wouldn't really dedicate a team to it unless that's your thing. Yeah. We need to remember that every single business in the world, whether it's e-commerce or otherwise, has got some sort of leader at the top, right? Whether at the top of the department or top of the company. And you also need to do what you have passion for. And if your passion is AI, then go ahead and look deeper into AI. But from a practical perspective, AI is still something just to be talked about a little bit, but nothing to be crazy about. I think probably the most important learning is that 90% of what we do personally doesn't matter. 95% of what you and I do really doesn't matter. And so people are so nervous about launching and about testing, about experimenting, because they think it's the most important fucking thing in the world, and they never do it, or they don't let another more junior staff member do it. They don't delegate because they think it's the most important. It's not. It's not. We need to delegate, and we need to let other people do stuff. We need to launch quickly, and to do that, we just need to realize that 90% of the stuff that doesn't really matter. And what I mean by that is not that you should stop doing it. It means that if you launch and it's not perfect, you won't break anything. There are things that you might break if you launch too early, so you need to be careful with those, but most things don't. It's like this interview, right? You asked me for an interview. I just realized you wanted to do it now, down the stairs. I thought you wanted to talk about arranging it, right? Right? So I had a very, very late night, very little sleep. I'm not in the best shape. It's probably not perfect, but it's gonna be out. If I waited for me to be perfect for it, it might have never come, or maybe it would have come in 3 months. This is exactly what I'm talking about. 90% of stuff, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah. So that's what I learned, and that allowed me to delegate, allowed me to empower my team, allowed me to find people that could do the job, and the surprise is that they do better than you.